What is the first thing that pops into your mind when someone talks about negotiation? What are the emotions you feel? In this video, I'll walk you through the core techniques of an FBI hostage negotiator, Chris Voss, his book Never Split the Difference, as well as my personal insights on how to apply this information to real life. I just wonder why no school system I was ever in has taught me these skills. To give you a clear overview of what I'm gonna talk about, I'm gonna focus on 4 core parts. The first one is how I restructured and healed my relationship with negotiation. Second, I'm gonna talk about how to prepare for negotiation. Third, I'm gonna mention the most important methods mentioned in the book Never Split the Difference. And last but not least, I am going to give you some of my personal insights and experiences with negotiation. Now, enjoy the video. How I restructured and healed my relationship with negotiation, going from thinking it's a tool to rip people off, to pressure them into things, to actually integrating it as an effective tool of a progressive society and personal growth. What led me there is actually shifting to the mindset that every single interaction, be it with friends, family, in a grocery store, negotiating with a hostage taker, or getting a car deal, is an energy exchange and therefore is a negotiation. Although there might not be much room for negotiation in a grocery store, it is much more effective in bigger scenarios, in bigger deals. To explain this idea, there's one paragraph on page 18 that I'll read to you right now. The first step to achieving a mastery of daily negotiation is to get over your aversion to negotiating. You don't need to like it. You just need to understand that's how the world works. Negotiating does not mean browbeating or grinding someone down. It simply means playing the emotional game that human society is set up for. In this world, you get what you ask for, you just have to ask correctly. So claim your prerogative to ask for what you think is right. If I were asked today how to define negotiation, I would say something like this. It is a dynamic dance with the goal of uncovering the needs and wants of the other parties, and then finding a creative solution that fulfills them while actually getting what you want and need from the interaction. For me personally, it is very important that it is fun, and I believe it is much better done when it's fun. What that means in reality is actually going for the negotiation in the right timing, in a good mood, and setting a good tone. Now, I wouldn't say it is necessary to really fake a tone you're not comfortable with, but slightly adjusting it to sound more playful, witty, maybe to have the other party relax, that is a bonus. To close it up, I cannot stress how important negotiation is, and that is whether you are a student, an employee, a business owner, or whether you are just a human being that wants to collaborate with others. It is an essential skill for every single person on this planet, I believe. Let's move on to the second core part, and that is how to best prepare for an upcoming negotiation. In the appendix of the book, the author offers you a guide for preparing your negotiation sheet. And although he himself claims and recommends not to prepare a very detailed and scripted way of negotiation, the reason being given later, he sums up the basic techniques. Now, as a motivation to do some preparation, I will use a quote from the book, and that is that a good initial preparation yields at least a 7-to-1 rate of return by the author's experience. It has pretty much 5 parts, the first one being preparing the goal. Now, it's important to mentally go through the best and the worst case scenario. However, it's good, and I like that as well, to only write out the best possible scenario. Then it's important to set an optimistic but reasonable goal and clearly define it. What also helps is actually discussing your goal with someone you trust and then bringing the actual written goal with you into the negotiation. There are two quotes that pretty much explain why it's better to have some room open for creativity instead of having a scripted preparation. And those are, since there's information yet to be acquired from the other side, it's quite possible that best case might be even better than you know. And the second being, never be so sure of what you want that you wouldn't take something better. What you can really easily get ready for is a summary of the negotiation, and that means writing down questions like, why are we here? What do we want to accomplish? What do you want? What do I want? And why? And here it's important to go beyond a self-serving assessment of what you want, but instead look into the other person a little bit and respond with tactical empathy. In this summary, you are pretty much aiming for the other party to say, that's right, signaling alignment. Now the fun part is the next stage, that is the accusation, audit, and labels. So what is the accusation audit? It's pretty much writing down things that you might get accused of by the other party. And you might think through this and come up with things like, do you think that I am exaggerating if I say that? Or do you think that I am arrogant if I say that? Or do you think that, do I sound incompetent if I say that? And to those you can come up with counter arguments, and what is also effective is labels and labeling the emotions of the other person. For effectively labeling the emotions, it's nice to have a vocabulary of emotions if you want to label them. And what also helps is a role play, so you can even prepare it in one person, or if you've got someone who is going to play the other party, that's helpful as well. The next thing you can easily get prepared for are calibrated questions. And if you have like 3 to 5 of them, that should be enough according to Chris. Calibrated questions are the what and how questions that reveal the values of each party, and what's most important, identify the challenges and the underlying motives. More often than not, it's things like status, autonomy, or self-esteem that are the hidden motives of people and are more important to them than cash. And so make sure that you kind of look beyond what they're saying and identify these main motivators. So here you can ask questions such as, what is the biggest challenge you face? What happens if you do nothing? How does this affect the rest of your team? And how does this deal resonate with what your company prides itself on? And if you come up with follow-up labels, those can be really simple. That's a bonus. What you can also do to get prepared is asking yourself questions. What could they give me so that I would almost do it for free? Or what is low-cost for them that advances my interest considerably? And coming up with a list of non-cash offers, items or services that the other counterpart may be able to offer you can be really helpful. Now that I have walked you through the preparation, I want to dive a little bit deeper into the individual methods mentioned in this wonderful book. In the first chapter, the author pretty much summarizes how negotiation is much more of a game about emotions than logic alone. And so for this, there are some tools that are very helpful. You have to learn to actively listen and also use tactical empathy. Tactical empathy is a tool that used to validate the other person's emotions without necessarily agreeing with them. And what is maybe most important is finding the so-called black swans. And black swans are kind of an invention of Chris Voss. And it's the type of information that is the unknown for you. This type of information is revolutionary for the negotiation because it can transform it into different realms. That is why preparing a scripted list before the negotiation often limits you to a certain way of thinking, and you must have your mind open to new information. We have talked about labels and how they are effective. However, there is one more tool, that's mirroring. And so mirroring is pretty much just repeating the last word or the last couple of words that the other person said and pausing. God is in the silence. This indeed shifts the pressure onto the other party, often allowing for them to reveal new information or explain themselves better. This one is my personal favorite, and the chapter is called Beware Yes and Master No. So I have seen a lot of salesmen pushing people into sealing the deal, into saying yes, and although this might be effective for short-term games, you don't really want to have the people walk away with the feeling that they were pressured into something. You want to build a healthy relationship with your counterpart mostly. And so what the author suggests is actually triggering questions that evoke a no answer. And it can be as simple as really asking in the beginning of the conversation, like, is this a bad time to talk? Why should you do that? Triggering a no opens up honest communication. It evokes at least the illusion of safety and control of the conversation, and that is crucial for a smooth implementation of the deal. A very smart technique on how to keep the conversation collaborative, ensure smooth follow-through from the other party, and implementation of the deal is using calibrated questions such as, how am I supposed to do that? And this kind of shifts the pressure onto the other party while keeping the conversation collaborative. And if you are lucky, you might even get the other party to start solving your own problems. Now, if you look at this book, the title says never split the difference. And the author suggests that compromising is not the best way to go. And that stems from the idea that in a hostage negotiation, a compromise would look similar to keeping 2 hostages and sending 2 hostages free, which is not really a deal. That's not really where you're headed in that kind of negotiation. Instead, what Chris suggests is coming up with creative solutions and ideas that kind of cover the needs and wants of both parties. Having covered the majority of methods mentioned in the book, I would now like to draw on some of my personal experience on the topic of negotiation. One of the biggest challenges I faced, and that was pretty recently in a 3-way conversation, was actually the overwhelm of information coming at me. And so in this, it's very needed to keep your mind clear. If you need, write some of the things down. Try to breathe. Mirroring helps very much, and pausing after that. And what is also a good thing as a preparation is to actually meditate before the negotiation. Now, this is the last aspect I'm gonna talk about, and that is body language with the negotiation. So if you are doing a face-to-face, it's very important to actually give the other person an impression that you are giving them your full focus. And that is very simply done by just pointing the tips of your feet towards them, looking them in the eyes, blinking. Actually, hand gestures might help as well. And it is all to give it a kind of a dynamic feel. You might be surprised what your body is capable of. Now I'm gonna be a little curious. I would like to ask you, what was the most challenging conversation or negotiation that you ended up in? And if any of the mentioned methods would help you, have you had known them.